Hi, this is Nancy with Quilting with Nancy and On Point TV, and I'm ready to start our next quilt series. This quilt series is the Double Wedding Ring. The Double Wedding Ring is a very, very popular quilt pattern, so much so that when you tell your friends, hey, I'm going to start quilting, the first thing that'll happen is somebody will go, oh, my niece is getting married. Will you make me a double wedding ring to give away to her? And the answer is no. You will not make a double wedding ring for you to give to a friend, for her to give to somebody. You will make a double wedding ring to give to people that you love, but the double wedding ring is not the kind of quilt that you're just going to whip together in a weekend. It is the type of quilt that is going to take a lot of additional precise piecing, a lot of additional planning, and it's just not a throw together quilt. Now, having said that, there are a couple of different quick double wedding ring techniques out there. I've seen them, I've tried them, they all work, but they are not a traditional double wedding ring. So for me, I want to know how to make the traditional double wedding ring. And I absolutely love making this. I love the precision needed when you're piecing these little arches and the arching here and then getting all of these little things to match right up. I love making the double wedding ring. So for me, if I'm making you a double wedding ring, you know I love you very, very much, because it's not a quilt that's just going to happen accidentally. First off, I'm going to show you the quilts that I have made in the double wedding ring style. This first one was my very first double wedding ring. I had not taken a class with anybody. I had seen a pattern in a magazine, and so the process I used for making this one is not really the process that I use now. Since making this one, I actually had a class with John Flynn. John Flynn is a professional quilter and a teacher and an author, and he also makes the most fabulous templates. This is the book that is John Flynn's. So this book is a step-by-step process of how to do the double wedding ring. But I really don't use his techniques all the way through. There are many techniques on this that I do use, and I highly recommend that. Kind of don't mean to go off topic, but when you're taking a class from a teacher, you do everything the teacher tells you to do while you're in that class, and then you go home and you try to work on things and make it work for you. So for me, loved taking that class with John Flynn. He's absolutely brilliant. His designs are wonderful. The techniques and the templates he makes are absolutely fabulous. But then I went home and I came up with what I think are better techniques, definitely for me. So this was the first one I made. These flowers were applique quilted. This is one of the first quilts that I ever did applique quilted. My mother had painted these fabrics. I literally just cut them out freehand and then quilted them down onto the quilt. And I love this look. So now we're going to scooch this one off. This is one that I had worked on for a long time while teaching the class. This is an 15-inch double wedding ring. So when you're looking at this, this is a rather large one. And I think that this is probably the most standard size, this kind of 15-inch. I'm going to show you some other sizes in here. But what I want you to notice about the basics of a double wedding ring is there is normally two different colored rings. So I'm going to scooch this up. I think we'll be able to see the full ring. So here you see the entire blue ring, and then you see the purple rings. And that's the idea of a double wedding ring, where the two colors kind of come together, and that creates the double wedding ring. There's a gazillion different ways to do it. You can do it scrappy, you can do it color-coded, you can do it variegated, you can do it, all these different ways. But this would be kind of that traditional look, okay? This one is one that's a little bit different. So I took with this and I did the piecing with the black and white, like I will show you how I do it. And I did the gradated, so from the darker to the lighter. But this piece, I just cut one arch. Now, when we're going through the processes of doing the double wedding ring, you will see when I use the arch template. That's when, instead of doing all the piecing first, you could just cut a piece of fabric. The other thing that this one has is the edging here. Instead of doing a traditional double wedding ring where you're actually, the curve is going to be the edge of the quilt, for this, I'm going to open this up. you can see that I actually appliqued that double wedding ring down onto an entire big piece of fabric so that this quilt will be square or rectangular when I'm done. And I did it by using Clover's bias tape. So Clover has a black bias tape, gold lame, a lot of different colors and stuff. And I put that down on the edge of the quilt. So there is the raw edge of the quilt is right under here. And then I just laid down that Clover bias tape over the top of it. Before I actually go to quilt this quilt, I will probably, you'll notice it's not quilted yet because I've not quite decided how I want to do it, but I will probably take out this fabric from underneath. The reason I would want to do that and not want to do that is because you can, and I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you can see a little bit of the color of that through the white fabric. I kind of like it. So I think, no, I should take it out so I don't see any shadowing, but then at the same time I go, I kind of like it. So I'm not sure. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So this would be a little bit of a different double wedding ring. This one is just a single round. So this was kind of fun. It was a fun fabric that came into the shop when I was working there. And it gave me the opportunity to showcase the fabric without making something big. Now, what would you do with a round double wedding ring? One ring? I don't know. I guess it could be a placemat. It could be a wall hanging, but it could be a pillow. If I had put a different backing on it, I could have made that into a pillow. So one ring, double wedding ring. Maybe you want to give it a try. Then you'll know whether or not you want to do a bigger quilt. This is one that I'm going to, I don't have it completely done. This inside here, that seam is not done. This is the one that I'm going to use to teach you how to piece the long curve of the quilt together. This has that same kind of traditional ring action where I've got the little pink ring here and then the cream colored ring. The inside of this I really love. I love putting a print in the background that I can not only draw my colors from. So I looked at this and said, okay, this cream and this pink, those look great. And then these darker colors here. So love using a nice, busy, pretty print in this section. With that one that was white, that means I'm going to have to do some really fabulous quilting in there. Otherwise it'll just be boring. Or I could put some applique quilting on it. That would be fun. The other thing that this one really points out is these here. This is the 4-patch unit. So I'll talk in the construction about the 4-patch unit. It is not made like your normal 4-patch, but that is what it's called in the process of making this. So let's move this out. This is the one, this is a scrappy one, so it's kind of scrappy. You'll see that the colors change places throughout. This is a Civil War. I've done some quilting on here. I did some fancy quilting down here, and obviously you can't see it, which that means I'm not going to do fancy quilting anywhere else because that makes no sense to take that much time doing fancy quilting for something you can't see. When we get done with the series on the piecing of the double wedding ring, the last part of it will be the quilting on the double wedding ring. So that might be, I'm not sure how many parts we'll have in this particular series, so it might be the third one. So keep in touch with us so that you'll be able to see the how to do the quilting. But this is also the one that I will use when it's time to do the binding. So on a traditional double wedding ring, you actually use a bias binding so that when it actually has that curved edge on the side. So this quilt you will see again when I'm teaching you how to do the binding. This one, I think I gotta scooch it over. This is the one that we're mostly going to work on. This is a smaller version of the double wedding ring. This is going to use the 12-inch, so the size of it is done by the size of the ring, and we're going to use the 12-inch template set from John Flynn for this. The other two that I showed you were the 15. The 18, it comes actually all the way in a 24-inch. So you can do a 24-inch ring in the John Flynn templates. And with that, you're making a really big quilt really, really fast. So just something to think about. This one, again, I have that really busy print on the inside here. And then these fabulous colors. Everybody knows that purple and orange love each other. They're complementary on the color wheel. So anytime you put purple and orange together in a quilt, you know it's going to be really striking. For me, this rocks. I love this. This is going to be really, really fun to put together. The last one is a smaller one that I have not yet finished. I want to be able to put this last row on here. But this is one that I did the pieced section here and then the solid section here. And I used my Sizzix Big Shot for this. So I'm going to grab this. This is the Sizzix Big Shot. And this is the template set. So this has, it's Victoria Findlay Wolf quilts, and it has all of the pieces for cutting out. So if I get into this, this is a die cutting machine. So you can see here where the knives, there's actually little pieces of sharp metal in there for cutting out all of the pieces on the double wedding ring. So when I worked on this green and brown one, I was using a die set. So we did do a video on this just a couple weeks ago, so you can go on to OnPoint-TV and look through it, and you will see the live video we did on the Sizzix. So the idea is with this, you're not using a rotary cutter. You actually take this die, you put the fabric on it, and it goes through, and you're cutting out all these pieces at once. So that's just kind of an overview of the double wedding rings that I've made and the ones that I'll be talking about in the construction. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about the templates that I use and the things that I do a little different than John Flynn. So my technique for making a double wedding ring.